So since I can remember, I've loved to talk. I've loved to talk to people, to share stories, to connect, to feel connections, but most importantly, because that silence I've often feared. So as a young teenager, when I was finally allowed to make a profile on MSN Messenger, it was like everything came true. Now, who here remembers MSN Messenger? Most of us, hey? That's because MSN Messenger, for most of us, was the first online platform we used to communicate to millions of people online. These millions of people included our friends, included family who lived in different countries, and most importantly for me, considering I went to a girls' school, it meant that I could talk to boys. I remember going to school on Mondays and asking my friends how their weekend was, and they'd often reply back with, "It was so good. I spent all weekend talking online." And I was like, "Online to who?" And they're like, "To our boyfriend or girlfriend, of course." And you took a step back, and at the age of 30, you were like, "You have a boyfriend? Tell me everything about him. What does he do? What does he look like? Where is he from?" And they're like, "Oh, we just MSN boyfriends and girlfriends." Because that was online dating before online dating was a thing. And in my experience and perception, having a relationship when we were younger was far easier because you didn't have to buy them presents. You barely had to meet them in real life. At that point, you had to come online when your girlfriend or boyfriend asked you to, and you had to ultimately put their name in your status with a love heart. So emojis were the currency, and coming online was like going for a picnic in the park. But the real reason I like to come online is because in the times where I got lonely or I felt alone, I knew that there was always someone who I could talk to, someone I could connect with, and someone I could share stories with. And that concept of loneliness is something I've personally struggled with for years. Standing here at the age of 26, I've been struggling with loneliness since I can remember. But do you know that I'm not alone? 1 in 5 of the UK population suffer from loneliness, according to the British Red Cross Foundation. 1 in 7 suffer from mental health issues, often impacted and influenced by a sense of disconnect, despite over 90% of us being online. This idea of loneliness has bombarded our news feeds. It's in every media outlet we now go to view. It's in online platforms through the content that we see. And researchers have spent years trying to figure out why people are lonely and what they can do to mitigate loneliness. A researching couple who go by the name of Chichiopo and Patrick found that there are 3 factors which ultimately cause loneliness. The first being disconnect, the 2 being your own personal emotions, and the 3rd being mental expectations. For instance, they suggest that each person has a level of social need that requires to be met, and if it's not met, this can cause distress. The same social need, if it is not met through compassion and through friendship, can cause a disconnect. And ultimately, when you are lonely and lonelier, you are unfortunately unable to use your softer skills to find those connections and your sense of self. Now, having been lonely for so many years and finding the answer online, I went back online. But the problem is I couldn't find the answer. My news feeds, my content, everyone I followed was bombarded with negativity. I started to compare myself to people I didn't even know, to celebrities, to brands, to peers, to friends of friends. And at that moment, I decided to take a step back and change my life. I decided to take the power of technology back into my hands. And by that I mean, I created an online community to help ordinary females such as myself, to help them to feel empowered, to connect and to celebrate. This was a safe space, which MSN Messenger was once for me, where you could share stories, where you could exchange information, and most importantly, where you could connect with others. because ultimately I believed that my loneliness came from a disconnect. Now, like-minded females helped me to find my sense of self. It helped me to find and build my own identity and give me the confidence to be the individual that I'd like to become. And ultimately, it helped me to find my sense of belonging. But the idea of belonging and your sense of belonging is also one which has been researched, because not many of us are comfortable in our own identity. George Mead, a sociologist, suggests that your sense of self is one which is created through your social interactions, rather than one which you are birthed with. He also mentions that the larger number of close relationships you have, the stronger your sense of identity is. And furthermore, his colleagues took it one step further and created a scale of social belonging. Now, for this scale, they asked participants simple questions and asked them to rate the answers from 1 to 5, 1 being, I have no clue, and 5 being, I have the answer. So I'd like you all to reflect on these questions, which I may ask now, given your timelines and your personal stories. 1, do you have a friend? 2, do you have a sense of community? And 3, in times of worry, do you know where to go? Ultimately, I believe that technology, if used mindfully and wisely, can be the most impactful, global, and powerful tool. It can provide us with a sense of community and help to meet our basic needs. The concept of basic needs is one which was first identified by Abraham Maslow in 1943. He stated that each human has a set or a need state which motivates more than others. These needs start from psychological needs and grow to safety, grow to love, to belonging, to self-esteem, and eventually self-actualization. Though I argue that this concept is too simplistic, and 70 years on, life is far more complicated and connected. In early 2018, I was that young adult which I spoke of who felt confused, lost, with no real identity. I started working for a large corporate which had over 1,000 people in its offices. And yet every time I came into work, I felt like I had no one to connect with. I had no shared values. And I had no one that I could ask these simple questions like about work and life and how to balance work and life. I didn't feel like anyone understood me. And then so I went online. I went online to scroll through my feed, looking for a miracle, and my feed just made me feel worse. By starting like-minded females, it was a sense for me to find clarity in who to communicate with and who to connect with. But the real truth is that I tried to take it offline way too quickly. Now, 3 weeks into our community, I wanted to create an offline event. I created a brunch and had 12 females reserve their seats. On the day of the brunch, I got up really excited, put my best outfit on, the brightest lipstick I could find, and got there very early. I got there early, only to be told 45 minutes later, kindly by the waitress, if I could return the table and pay for my tea. No one showed up to our first event, and I was devastated. But I also didn't tell anyone. I took the burden, and I went off home. But what I decided to do was message those 12 females and ask them why they hadn't attended. Some of them said it's because there was transport delays. Others said it's because they had a late night the night before and couldn't attend. But one said it's because she got nervous. And the truth is she had every right to be nervous. Now I'm standing here preaching that communities need to be safe, that they need to give you a forum where you can connect, where you can share stories. But ultimately, in 3 weeks, I didn't provide that safe space for anyone. So I took a step back. One, I reflected on our mission. What was our mission and what were our values? What was it that we really wanted to implement going forward? 2, I made sure that I introduced myself and our team through online profiles, so our community members on the other side could know that we were just ordinary females, trying to meet ordinary people and do extraordinary things together. And 3, a community is for and by the community. So we started engaging, interacting with themed content, with strategic messages to ask exactly what they wanted. Was it events, was it activities, was it workshops? And provided that to them. Ultimately, it's technology and being online which helped me to find connections, to mitigate my loneliness, and most importantly, find my sense of identity with a purpose. And I believe that if we all take the small steps to focus on the platforms which we are on, and the content which you are sharing, and the messages you are sending, that we can help to solve the world's basic problems, such as mental health, loneliness, and a lack of identity. Now, I spoke about needs earlier, and I believe that we need to redo Maslow's hierarchy of needs, so this is my proposed version. My proposed version includes that females and males and everyone and anyone can loop back from one need state to the other quite quickly and not know how to move forward. Secondly, it includes a societal and a community approach, whereas Maslow based his studies on individuals. But we know, standing here in 2019, how important it is to think about each other as our neighbours, as our friends, and as our community. And most importantly, technology. Maslow did not have technology in his time, so he didn't know the impact that it could provide to each and every one of us. In 2018, there were 3 billion people online, compared to 2011 where there was 2.1. Of those 3 billion people, 70% are looking for a community and 90% are looking for connections. And I believe that if we use technology to its whole power, mindfully and wisely, we can not only help to build those communities, but we can help ourselves to develop our sense of identity, to feel less lonely, and ultimately, to find our belonging. So if today you're considering of joining an online community, which I would encourage everyone to do, I'd like you to think of these 3 things. For one, why are you joining? And this why is really important because this why will help to align your values, to align your mission, and therefore the type of people you'd like to interact with. The second is how and what. It's the same thing really. There are over 20 free social platforms available today. Each platform has a different purpose. I would advise you to narrow it down to 2 platforms like we did for like-minded females. Our ultimate mission was to create a safe space and a community where we could empower, connect and celebrate. So we chose LinkedIn, which is a professionals app online, and Instagram, because we wanted to showcase positivity through pictures and through imagery and through content which we knew could be seen by the billions across the world. And lastly, what kind of person do you want to become? Focus on your future self compared to your present self. What kind of person would you like to become? What kind of friend are you going to be? But most importantly, how is this future person going to help you develop your sense of self? Ultimately, I believe that technology can be and is the most powerful and impactful and global tool. If we use it wisely and mindfully, it can and it will help solve the world's issues. Issues around loneliness, issues around mental health, and ultimately, issues around disconnect. I know because I created a community with that objective, and it has helped me, so I believe it can help you. And one last thing I'd like to leave you with, which my mother often said to me, those times I was on MSN Messenger, until today when I'm on my phone, is if you are old enough to create an online profile, then you should be responsible enough for the messages that you are sending, the content which you are engaging with, and the people you are connecting with. Because ultimately, you have the power in your hand through the devices that we now have and we share and we use to bring about change. Change in yourself and change in those around you.